When a teacher laughed at his challenge, he discovered a hidden genius that changed everything. Jake Thompson sat at his desk, heart pounding, as his classmates' laughs echoed around the classroom like taunts from a cruel wind. Mr. Harris, arms crossed and a smirk plastered across his face, waved dismissively at Jake's prototype, a renewable energy device he had poured his soul into for months. "You really think this is going to save Maplewood?" he scoffed, and the room erupted in laughter, sharp as shattered glass. In that moment, Jake felt the weight of the world pressed down on him. He was just a boy from a struggling town, dreaming of inventing something that could change lives, but now he felt like a fool. Later that day, as he trudged home, the laughter followed him like a dark cloud. Maplewood, a town nestled between crumbling factories and vacant storefronts, mirrored Jake's own feelings of hopelessness. His family worked hard to scrape by. They taught him to believe in the value of grit and determination, yet here he was, drowning in despair. How could he ever rise above his circumstances when even his teacher mocked him? But just as Jake felt he would sink into darkness, he found light in the most unexpected place: his little sister, Lily. With her teasing giggles and sunny smiles, she would catch him in the garage, lost in wires and metal scraps, beaming with hope. "You're gonna be the best inventor ever, Jake." "I know it," she'd shout, her faith sparking a flicker of resolve in his chest. Together, they turned the cluttered garage into a lab of dreams, sketching ideas on scrap paper and drawing encouragement from each other's joy. Weeks passed, and then the school announced an invention competition with a scholarship that shimmered like a golden ticket. It felt like a lifeline thrown into the stormy sea of his life. This was it. A chance to put his ideas out into the world. But the fear of facing Mr. Harris again and the laughter of his classmates nagged at him, burrowing into his mind like a pesky gnat. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day of the competition dawned, filled with dread and excitement. Jake was ready. He wrapped himself in the memories of his family's sacrifices, channeling everything into his invention. But as he stepped onto that stage, surrounded by faces that ranged from supportive to scornful, anxiety hit him like a brick. He glanced at Lily, her eyes sparkling with belief. As he started his presentation, a thrill rushed through him, followed by a glitch in his prototype. Suddenly, his device sputtered, then shrieked, drawing gasps and snickers. Jake felt his chest tighten, the laughter swirling around him once again. But he stood at a crossroads. He could crumble under the weight of doubt or rise, transforming failure into inspiration. The room held its breath. Jake knew this wasn't just about him anymore. This was about all the kids in Maplewood yearning to break free from the chains of their circumstances. With determination glinting in his eyes, he prepared to turn this moment around. What would he choose? Jake took a deep breath. The weight of disappointing everyone sat heavily on his shoulders, but he remembered Lily's unwavering smile. It was a reminder of hope in a sea of doubt, and somehow, it sparked a flame within him. He raised his chin and focused on the crowd. "Okay," he began, his voice steadier than he felt. "What you're witnessing right now doesn't just demonstrate failure, it shows the power of perseverance. This is exactly what innovation looks like. It's messy, it's unexpected, and it's how we learn." His classmates exchanged puzzled glances, and he could see Mr. Harris raise an eyebrow, intrigued despite himself. Jake pressed on, harnessing that flicker of hope growing in him. He reached for the toolbox beside him and picked up a screwdriver. The room was bathed in silence. "Let's troubleshoot together. What if I told you this device could still work?" The initial snickers faded away, replaced by a mix of curiosity and anticipation. Jake set to work on his prototype, fingers steady as he tightened screws, rewired connections, and even swapped out parts. With each movement, it felt like the laughter from before was transforming into encouragement. "I built this to harness the energy we waste every day," he explained as he worked. "In Maplewood, our power is limited, but we can change that. This can help us tap into renewable sources, lowering bills and giving back to the community." With a final twist of the screwdriver, Jake's heart raced. He flipped the switch again. This time, the device hummed to life, lights glowing in a vibrant dance. The audience erupted, gasps turning into applause, and he couldn't help but grin. I can't believe it," whispered one of his classmates, awe etched on her face. Mr. Harris stood, jaw slightly dropped, perhaps realizing he misjudged Jake's determination. As the cheers of his fellow students washed over him, Jake allowed hope to fill every corner of his heart. Could he have truly changed their perception? After the presentation, he stepped off the stage, still buzzing from the thrill of success. As he found Lily in the crowd, she sprinted to him, throwing her arms around him. "You did it, Jake. I knew you could." Her excitement was infectious, but as he soaked in her joy, his focus shifted momentarily to Mr. Harris, who approached him rather slowly, almost hesitantly. There was no mocking laughter now, only a glimmer of respect in his eyes. "I underestimated you," the teacher admitted, almost begrudgingly. "Let's talk about how we can help develop your invention." Jake felt tears prick the corners of his eyes. Could it really be happening? Was this the breakthrough he'd always dreamt of? But just as his heart swelled with possibility, a familiar tension slipped back into his mind. What if this was just luck? What if they didn't believe in him tomorrow? The next challenge loomed in his thoughts, the taste of success mingling with uncertainty. Could he keep this momentum going? Would he be strong enough when faced with obstacles that lay ahead? With his head held high, Jake embraced both the worry and the thrill of his journey. Jake understood that this was only the beginning. He had opened a door, and now, he was determined to step through it, ready to face whatever came next. But would the road ahead empower or thwart him? He took another deep breath, ready for the challenges tomorrow might bring. What's next? He murmured to himself, the weight of his ambitious dreams clashing with the uncertainties of reality. Would he rise to meet them? The following day, Jake awoke with a sense of anticipation mingling with unease. The sunlight filtered through his window, painting the room in warm hues. He sat up, the events of yesterday still fresh in his mind, and realized those moments on stage had ignited something deep within him. He grabbed his notebook and started jotting down every idea that flickered through his mind. Sketches of his prototype, plans for improvements, and wild concepts he hadn't dared to think of before filled each page. It felt liberating, as if he was finally free to explore the depths of his imagination. With each tick of the clock, however, the dread crept back in. What if Mr. Harris's interest was fleeting? What if today brought rejection instead of encouragement? Shaking off the doubt, Jake gathered his things and headed to school, determined to carry the momentum forward. As he entered the classroom, the buzz of his classmates filled the air. Jake's heart raced. He saw Lily waving at him from her desk, her smile radiant. She seemed to bubble with excitement. "Did you think about what we talked about? The competition next week?" she exclaimed. "Right, the competition," Jake echoed, feeling a rush of anxiety. The school was holding a science fair, a showcase for students to present their inventions. He hadn't thought about that, not until this moment. It felt like everything was moving too fast. Mr. Harris walked in, and the class quieted down. He looked different today, more animated, invigorated by the breakthrough he had witnessed yesterday. "I've arranged for some guest speakers to come and talk about renewable energy," he said, glancing at Jake with a newfound respect. "I want you all to take this opportunity seriously. We want to see innovation, resilience, and ideas that can truly make a difference." Jake's stomach flipped. This was his chance to elevate his invention, to prove to everyone and himself that he belonged among the bright minds of Maplewood. But what if he couldn't deliver? As the day progressed, discussions about the competition sparked excitement and dread among his classmates. Jake clutched his notebook tightly, seeing ideas sprouting on every page. But alongside the thrill of creation came a gnawing fear of failure. At lunch, he sat with Lily, who animatedly chatted about the different projects they could work on. What if we collaborated? Together, we could tackle the waste problem more effectively. Jake's eyes widened. You really think we could? I mean, what if we mess it up? Lily gently placed her hand over his. What if we don't? Remember how everyone erupted with joy yesterday? You changed the narrative in one moment. Why not do it again? Her words sparked an infectious confidence within him. Perhaps this was how he would find clarity among the chaos. Perhaps he could change the story of Maplewood not just for himself, but for the community. Feeling revitalized, Jake knew he had a decision to make. Would he step up and embrace the challenge ahead? Was he ready to believe in the brilliance everyone else seemed to see? That evening, he committed to refining his technology further, planning the best ways to integrate Lily's ideas and push the project toward the competition. Each twist and turn of his concept unfurled new challenges, yet to his surprise, he found joy within the struggle. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows in his room, Jake steeled himself for the upcoming competition. But the lingering question remained. Would others see his vision, or was this bold leap just another risk that could lead to disappointment? Tomorrow brought the potential for transformation. And as his fingers danced over the page, he whispered, what will it take to change everything? The next morning, Jake awoke with more than just anticipation. He felt a fire inside him, fueled by the idea of collaboration with Lily. They were partners now, ready to tackle something big. He hurried through his breakfast, barely tasting the cereal, his mind racing with possibilities. As he walked into school, he glanced at the large bulletin board announcing the science fair. Colorful posters fluttered in the breeze, as if beckoning him to join in the excitement. But the nerves tightened in his stomach when he remembered Mr. Harris's earlier challenge. He couldn't shake the sensation that he was still on the precipice of fear and discovery. In the first few classes, Jake barely focused. His thoughts swirled around their project ideas, expanded, merged, and twisted within him. He sketched out a vast plan that incorporated new, renewable materials and fresh approaches they could pitch to the judges. His heart raced at the thought of presenting something meaningful, something that people needed. Finally, it was time for lunch. Jake spotted Lily already sitting at their table, excitement visible in her eyes. I can't wait to dig into our ideas, she exclaimed. The way she animatedly spoke made him want to dive right in. As they discussed their project, the noise of the cafeteria faded into the background. The world outside them blurred as they crafted vision after vision plans to reduce waste that could light up the community while drawing energy from renewable sources. But amid the creativity, Jake remembered Mr. Harris's expectation. I hope we can really pull this off, he said, his voice tinged with doubt. Lily paused, tilting her head. Jake, you've already done so much more than you think. Trust your instincts. Remember yesterday? You have a vision. Those words lingered in the air. She was right. All he needed was belief, the courage to embrace vulnerability and step into the unknown. After lunch, the anticipation morphed into something raw. In science class, Mr. Harris announced that each student would present their sketches to the class, an opportunity for feedback ahead of the fair. It was a mix of excitement and pressure. When it was finally Jake's turn, he stood up, taking a deep breath that echoed in his chest. He approached the front, confidence blending with fear, the potential for failure looming over him like a storm cloud. As he unveiled his project, he could feel the room growing silent. His heart thudded as he began to explain the intricacies of his invention. He noticed some classmates nodding, others scribbling notes. Just as things felt like they might turn out well, a voice from the back of the room cut through. Seriously, Jake? You really think that's feasible? It was Mark, a confident kid known for his relentless critiques. The laughter spread like wildfire through the classroom, harsh and unforgiving. Jake's heart raced, stung by the challenge. In that moment of vulnerability, he felt an unexpected clarity. The laughter was a trigger, igniting a spark he didn't know he had. "What if I do?" he shouted back, surprising even himself. The room quieted, tension palpable. "What if we can make it work?" No one ever changed the world by playing it safe. His voice rang with determination, and he could feel the pulse of the classroom shift. Some of his classmates actually looked interested, curiosity sparked in their eyes. Perhaps he wasn't alone in this after all. After his presentation, though hesitant, he received encouragement from unexpected corners. Lily beamed at him, pride glowing in her gaze, and even a few classmates gave nods of approval. As he left class, a sense of exhilaration washed over Jake. For the first time, he felt not just his own potential but the growing belief in his project from others. He caught up with Lily, their steps in sync. "I think I did it," he said breathlessly. But as they turned the corner, a new worry crept in. The challenge had just begun. With the competition looming, Jake couldn't ignore the nagging thought: what would happen if they failed? Would he be able to recover? Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and Jake knew he had to rise to meet them. Little did he know, he was about to discover just how far his hidden genius could take him. The bell rang, cutting through the hum of chatter that filled the hallways. Jake felt the energy shifting around him. Students buzzed with anticipation for the science fair, and yet, deep inside, a knot of uncertainty began to twist in his stomach. He had ignited a spark in the classroom, but the competition was looming, and doubts reared their ugly heads once more. After school, he and Lily met at a small table in the library. The smell of old books surrounded them, and Jake closed his eyes for a moment, trying to harness the inspiration that had just flickered to life. Lily spread out their materials, and they began to map out their next steps, but he struggled to focus. "Jake, what is going on?" Lily asked, tracing her finger across a blueprint sketched on a scrap of paper. "You seem miles away." He sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "I guess I'm just worried about what happens next. What if Mark's right? What if our project isn't good enough?" Lily leaned closer, knowingly. "Remember how you spoke up during your presentation? That fire you had? Let us tap into that. We can brainstorm what you're feeling anxious about. You can't just shut that down." He bit his lip, the weight of her words pressing down on him like a comforting hand. "I want to make a difference, but it feels like a huge responsibility." Lily smiled, her eyes sparkling. "That's what makes you special. You care. And together, we'll refine our ideas until they shine. Let us find that hidden genius in you." With renewed resolve, they dove into a whirlwind of brainstorming. They scribbled ideas about solar panels that could be made from recycled materials, water filtration systems harnessing rainwater, and more. Each suggestion sparked excitement, filling the air between them with bright energy. As they worked, Jake could feel the doubts slowly melting away. The connection they shared in that moment, two minds crafting something bigger than themselves, felt electric. But then, a flicker of anxiety returned as he remembered the looming date of the science fair. "Lily," he said, hesitating. "What if we fail? What if all of this effort is for nothing?" She reached across the table, squeezing his hand. Jake, every inventor, scientist, and creator faced doubts. The only way to truly fail is to never try at all. Let us remember why we started this journey. Her words painted confidence across the canvas of his fear. With every idea they shared, he felt a piece of that fire rekindling. Their project was turning into something powerful and meaningful. They envisioned not just a school project, but a beacon of change for their community. That night, Jake lay awake, the shadows in his room dancing as the moonlight streamed through the window. If he could harness the courage to truly believe in the work they were creating, what could that mean for others? Could they actually inspire change beyond the walls of their school? He closed his eyes, imagining their invention standing proud at the science fair, each component representing not just innovation, but hope. Each person's life they could touch while encouraging their classmates to dream beyond the confines of their fears. The next day in the library, Jake and Lily got to work again, shaping their vision like sculptors carving a statue. They were ready to push their limits and test their ideas. But Jake couldn't shake the lurking thought, had they truly prepared enough? Would their project stand out in front of everyone? As they finalized their designs, a whispered rumor began to circulate in the halls. Whispers of a rival project that could steal the spotlight. Jake's heart sank as he caught snippets of conversations drifting past. "Did you hear about Claire and Mark's project? They're working on something unbelievable," one student said to another. Jake glanced at Lily, a wave of anxiety crashing over him. "We have to step our game up," he said, almost panicked. Lily met his gaze with fierce determination. "Let's turn this into an opportunity. They may have a head start, but we have something they don't, our unique vision." Jake felt the adrenaline surge inside him. This was their moment to rise. With unyielding resolve, he turned back to their work. But as they sank back into their designs, a chilling thought ran through his mind. Were they ready to face this challenge head-on, or would they crumble under the weight of competition? Tomorrow would tell a different story, and Jake knew he had to summon every ounce of courage he had. What they discovered from this challenge could change everything. Would they shine or falter? Jake and Lily arrived at the school the next day, the air thick with tension. Friends greeted them, smiles plastered on their faces, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling of unease. He caught snippets from nearby students, their whispers buzzing like a swarm of bees. "Did you see their project? It's incredible. That tech is unmatched." With each comment, Jake's heart sank further. What were Claire and Mark really up to? They were known for their creativity, but this was more than just a project. It felt like a battle of ideas that I in their first class. As the teacher walked through the door, Jake shifted in his seat. Mr. Hall was known for his straightforward approach but also for his brutal honesty. He had a knack for spotting weakness. Today, sitting in front of him felt like standing on a tightrope over a pit of doubts. "Let's take a moment to assess your project proposals," Mr. Hall announced, his tone serious yet inviting. "I want honesty. This is a safe space." Jake exchanged a nervous glance with Lily. They had spent countless hours perfecting their project, yet a sense of dread curled in his stomach. What if their idea wasn't as unique as they thought? The pressure of the upcoming science fair felt heavier than before. As each student presented, Jake couldn't help but compare their work to Claire and Mark's. Competitors had crafted sleek designs with high-end materials, and Mr. Hall's enthusiasm lit up the room. Then it was their turn. Jake stood up, his palms sweating, as the noise of the classroom faded into silence. He glanced at Lily, who nodded encouragingly. With shaky hands, he reached for their poster board, displaying vibrant diagrams of their solar panel concept. As he began to explain their vision using recycled materials to create a sustainable energy source, he noticed Mr. Hall lean back in his chair, a skeptical eyebrow raised. With every word, Jake felt the weight of judgment hovering over him like clouds threatening rain. When he finished, Mr. Hall's response was not what he had hoped for. "Interesting concept," he said, tapping his fingers together. "But how do you plan to make it practical? Remember, it needs to be more than just an idea." Jake's heart raced. He felt like a deer caught in headlights. There was no backup plan, no perfect answer to present. "We were still finalizing some details," he stammered, trying to maintain composure. The laughter that rippled through the classroom felt like daggers. Jake's cheeks burned, and he dropped his gaze to the floor, wishing he could disappear. "Maybe we need to rethink our approach," he thought, feeling the sting of defeat, but then he heard Lily's voice rise above the whispers. "Mr. Hall, when you challenge us, it pushes us to think deeper. We want to spark conversations about renewable energy, not just build something flashy." Jake glanced at her, surprised yet proud. The fire in her words was a truth he had almost forgotten amid the pressures of competition. He realized their project wasn't just about winning, it was about creating change, about challenging norms. That's it, he thought, feeling a surge of inspiration. What if we use this moment to rethink our entire project? Jake, if we approach this differently, we could flip the narrative, Lily whispered, her eyes shining with possibilities. Mr. Hall's gaze softened slightly, an acknowledgement of her passion. Well, I hope you both take this challenge to heart. Innovation requires resilience. As the class wrapped up, a small ember of hope ignited within Jake. This wasn't just about competition anymore, it was about a purpose. They could still harness this moment to create something extraordinary. Jake left the classroom with renewed energy buzzing inside him. What if their project could inspire students beyond just the science fair? They had a mission now to communicate the importance of sustainability and motivate their peers. Tomorrow they would meet again, ready to flip that narrative. But could they truly mold their project into something powerful enough to rise above the competition and make an impact? Would they be able to inspire change, or would they find themselves backed into a corner? Jake woke up the next morning with a determined fire igniting within him. The echoes of yesterday's class resonated like a battle cry, fueling his commitment to their project. He imagined their solar panel idea transforming into a beacon of hope for renewable energy discussions at school. Today is different, he resolved. He met Lily in the library after school, the scent of books surrounding them, thick and comforting. She was already tinkering with their project materials, bits of cardboard, wires, even some leftover plastic bottles. As soon as he walked in, the focus and passion in her eyes were contagious. Jake, I've had some ideas overnight, she said excitedly, spreading blueprints across the table. Each one was more inventive than the last. If we add a small wind turbine to our concept, it could showcase both solar and wind energy. We can prove that recycling can be fun and practical. Jake felt a rush of exhilaration. That's brilliant. It gives us a multifaceted approach. We can show how the combination of these technologies can make energy consumption cleaner. Their minds buzzed with possibilities, brainstorming different ways to make their project not just functional but captivating. The minutes turned into hours, fast-paced exchange punctuated with laughter and ideas spiraling into one another. They threw around concepts that were crazy and wild, and yet, the more they did, the more they refined their vision. We could even do a demonstration, right? Show classmates how they could make sustainable energy at home. Jake suggested, his imagination racing ahead, the words hung in the air, charged with potential. They began sketching a presentation that included not just facts but hands-on activities for their classmates. It didn't matter how flashy it was, what mattered was the message. As they worked, Lily pulled out her phone and began taking notes to document their journey. We need to share this online, too. We can inspire more than just our school, she said with infectious enthusiasm. Time slipped away until the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting warm hues of orange and purple through the library windows. They had crafted a vision that was brimming with hope and access. Their project was moving beyond the confines of the science fair. It could be a movement. Dude, we're onto something huge here, Jake finally breathed, staring at the daunting task they had set before themselves. Emotions tangled in his chest: excitement, fear, and a sense of responsibility. But, what if we fail? Lily's gaze met his, fiercely resolute. What if we don't? What if we actually make a difference? Even if it doesn't win first prize, it could still plant seeds of change. Jake sat back, letting that sink in. They weren't just fighting for a trophy anymore. They were standing for a purpose, igniting conversations among their peers. Suddenly, the laughter and whispers of the classroom faded into the background. Okay, he said, determination solidifying his resolve. Let us show them just how powerful this can be. The next day would be pivotal. They needed a plan. Would their classmates, and Mr. Hall, accept this new vision? Would they be brave enough to transform doubt into innovation? As Jake left the library, his heart was full, the night sky a blanket of stars above him. He couldn't shake the excitement curling in his stomach. And just as the thought crossed his mind, a new worry emerged, a nagging signal of doubt. Can they truly rally around this? What if Claire and Mark come up with something even more dazzling? With questions hanging in the air, Jake knew he had to brace himself for whatever was to come. Would they succeed in flipping the narrative, or would they falter when it mattered most? The journey was only beginning. The next day dawned with a hint of nervous energy crackling in the air. Jake could barely contain his excitement as he made his way to school, clutching a folder filled with sketches and notes. With each step, he reminded himself of the mission: to inspire his classmates and ignite their imaginations about renewable energy. When he arrived, the hallways buzzed with familiar faces. Some chattered about weekend plans, while others rushed to avoid being late to class. But Jake's focus was locked on the science fair. He spotted Lily by their usual meeting spot, her dark hair fluttering slightly in the breeze. Grinning, he joined her and they compared their notes, fine-tuning their energy concepts with a mix of urgency and enthusiasm. "I think we need more visuals," Lily suggested. "Maybe even a short video clip to show how wind and solar work together, something engaging." "Absolutely. We need to catch their attention right off the bat," Jake replied, his heart racing at the thought of standing in front of the class, ready to share their ideas. As the lunch bell rang, they rushed to the classroom, breathless with anticipation. Mr. Hall greeted them with that knowing smile he had mastered over years of teaching. "All right, team. I'm eager to see what you've put together." With the other teams presenting on various science fair topics on either side, the room felt alive with tense competition. Jake watched as Claire and Mark confidently showcased a sleek robot arm with flashing lights, the crowd's cheers echoing in the air. A wave of self-doubt washed over him. What if their project paled in comparison? When it was finally their turn, Jake swallowed hard and stepped to the front, with Lily right beside him. She started reciting the key points, and Jake followed with their vision. He gestured to the images projected behind them, bright colors and engaging graphics that illustrated their concepts. But just as he was getting into the flow, Mr. Hall raised an eyebrow, leaning back in his chair. "Interesting ideas, kids," he said, but the faint smirk on his lips cut through Jake's confidence. "But what makes this any different from what we already know?" Jake felt his stomach knot. A cold sweat trickled down his back. Claire and Mark's flashy display was now echoing in his mind, mocking him. Because he managed to mumble. Because Lily squeezed his arm, grounding him. Her determination surged back into him like a lifeline. "It's not just about combining energy sources," she jumped in, her voice steady. "It's about showing people how they can actively engage with renewable energy in their daily lives." The room grew quiet as her passion rang through, but Mr. Hall's expression remained skeptical. "A good point, but are you prepared for real-world application?" Jake hesitated, then took a deep breath. "We're going to do a demonstration. A hands-on setup that shows everyone they can create this at home. We can turn old materials into something useful. It's practical, exciting, and fun." The classroom was silent. For a moment, all Jake could hear was the pounding of his heart. Then, slowly, nods began to ripple across the students' faces. Mr. Hall leaned forward, intrigued. "Now that's something worth exploring. But I have to ask, is your project ready for prime time? What if it flops?" Suddenly, the pressure of it all fell heavy on Jake's shoulders. Doubt crept back inside him, whispering that they might not succeed. Could they really pull this off? As Lily met his gaze, he realized that this was more than just about winning a trophy. It was about belief and taking risks. As they stepped back from the presentation, the students buzzed with chatter, respectfully discussing their project's idea. Jake felt a spark of hope, yet uncertainty cast a shadow over his excitement. Would they overcome the doubts and turn their vision into reality? Could they truly engage their classmates and make a difference? Once outside the classroom, Jake caught a glimpse of Claire and Mark. He noticed them giggling and whispering to one another, doubt nagging at him once again. Would they be too caught up in competition to see the bigger picture? Jake, Lily said quietly, snapping him from his thoughts, are you ready for what's coming next? He nodded, steeling himself. Yeah, I am. But what if we can't pull it off? As those words hung in the air, the challenge ahead loomed larger. Jake's heart raced. What lay ahead could change everything, but would they find the courage to follow through? The following days rattled Jake's nerves. Each morning felt like stepping onto a stage, ready for a performance he hoped wouldn't flop. He and Lily dedicated every free moment to perfecting their demonstration. Old soda bottles piled up in Jake's garage, transformed into makeshift solar chargers and wind turbines. They watched countless videos, each clip sparking new ideas, igniting an electric thrill in their conversation, but despite their hard work, doubt tilted like an unbalanced scale in Jake's mind. The memory of Mr. Hall's skeptical smirk haunted him. What if it flops? Became a persistent echo. He often caught himself staring at the old equipment they pieced together. What if none of it worked? The fear washed over him like icy water. Lily, on the other hand, radiated confidence that fueled Jake's resolve. Her voice rang hope into the daily brainstorming sessions. We can do this. Remember, it's about inspiring others to believe in change. As the science fair approached, excitement blended seamlessly with anxiety. Jake prepared mentally, practicing their lines, envisioning the demonstration unfolding perfectly. He even imagined the applause that would follow if it all went well. But then, Claire and Mark rolled out their project. Their robot arm, more refined each day, outperformed any gadget Jake considered. Look at them, Jake sighed one afternoon, watching as they tested their device. It's going to be embarrassing when they see our creative setup. Stop it. Lily laughed, playfully nudging him. You're letting doubt take over again. Think about what we bring to the table. This isn't just about competition, it's about showing a new way. She was right. Each time Jake felt anger at their flashy project, he reminded himself of their goal. They weren't after a trophy anymore, they sought change. With the countdown now at 2 days, Jake's resolve solidified. Let us make a final push. We'll give it everything we've got, and then some, he declared, determination igniting in his chest. They worked tirelessly, perfecting each solar-powered gadget, each wind turbine that danced at the slightest breeze. On the night before the fair, as they tucked away everything in Jake's car, he turned to Lily. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm proud of us. Me too, she whispered, her smile radiant in the warmth of the garage light. When they finally arrived the next day, the gym buzzed with energy. Students gathered around exhibits, laughter and chatter filling the air. The scent of anticipation hung thick, mingling with nachos from a nearby stand. Their time to shine arrived quickly. Jake's heart pounded as they prepared. Okay, deep breaths, Lily urged. As they stood in front of their setup, a mix of homemade gadgets and bright enthusiasm, Jake felt the crowd's eyes on them. Some chatted amongst themselves, others appeared curious but skeptical. Mr. Hall's serious face observed them from the back of the room. Hello everyone. We're excited to show you how simple materials can turn into renewable energy sources you can use at home, Jake began, voice shaking slightly but earnest. Their demo started strong, explaining solar energy cleaning up the cluttered outdoor scene. Jake felt the fear dissipate into the energy around him, as Lily jumped in with her passionate pitch on environmental awareness. They worked as a seamless duo, each building on the other's ideas. The crowd began to respond. A few students leaned in closer, eyes bright. Some exchanged impressed whispers about their home projects. Jake's confidence soared with every nod, every sparkle of engagement. And as they turned to showcase a simple wind turbine spinning, he caught a glance from Claire. Rather than smugness, he saw respect and intrigue. It felt electric, like a current winding through the room. With the room now buzzing, Jake's heart raced again, but this time, it wasn't out of fear. It was excitement. When they finished, applause erupted around them, echoing in the gym. Mr. Hall approached, a genuine smile breaking his usual stoic expression. Now that was something worth discussing. Jake's heart soared, but a lingering question hung in the air: had they truly made an impact? As they basked in the moment, another thought crept in. What if they succeeded beyond their wildest dreams? With hopeful eyes on the horizon, he and Lily exchanged glances. This was only the beginning, but would they be ready for what came next? As the excitement from the science fair reverberated through the gym, Jake felt an unfamiliar sense of hope bloom in his chest. The applause felt like a warm embrace, wrapping around him and Lily, lifting them above the self-doubt that had plagued them for so long. They had stood together against the odds, and now they had sparked a flame of curiosity among their peers. That in the days following the fair, the buzz continued. Jake noticed classmates approaching him, not with mockery, but with genuine interest. They were excited about renewable energy, eager to know how they could incorporate it into their lives. It was as if their project had turned into a conversation starter, a blossoming culture of innovation amongst the students of Maplewood. Lily was in her element, creating flyers and planning workshops for how to make small solar panels at home. She had become something of an impromptu leader, rallying classmates around the idea that change isn't just possible, it starts small, with each person willing to act. "You're the voice of a generation, Jake," she teased one afternoon, pushing back her hair as they sat on the school's steps. "You brought this community together." Jake chuckled. He felt more like an everyday kid who happened to stumble upon an idea. But Lily's enthusiasm was contagious. They brainstormed ways to network with local businesses for materials, even considering guest speakers to ignite the passions of others. Then came the moment they had both almost dared not hope for: the school board meeting. Mr. Harris had approached them after the fair, proposing that they present their project to the board, with a chance to secure funding for future initiatives. Jake swallowed hard. "What if we flounder?" he asked, but Lily quickly shook her head. "We've got to go for it. Remember, we're here to inspire change. That can't happen if we're scared to share our vision." The night of the meeting arrived with a mixture of excitement and anxiety swirling in Jake's stomach. As they stepped into the boardroom, he put on a brave face, yet every step felt heavier as they ascended to that podium, the stakes higher than ever. Mr. Harris introduced them with an air of pride, and as Jake inhaled deeply, he could feel the pulse of determination coursing through him. Lily launched into their presentation, her passion igniting the room as she detailed their project and the community's response. With each PowerPoint slide flashed onto the screen, Jake felt the audience's engagement grow, the initial skeptics leaning forward, intrigued. "This project isn't just about reducing waste, it's about empowering each one of us to take that first step," she concluded, and then it was Jake's turn. He felt the weight of expectation settle on his shoulders. Every heartbeat resonated in his ears as he stepped forward. "When I first started, I didn't believe I was capable of making a difference," he said, his voice steady. "All I needed was a spark of faith from Lily, from my family, and from my community. We all have the potential to create change together." The silence that followed felt thick, charged with the energy of hope. When he finished, he stepped back, heart pounding, but the applause that erupted felt like unfurling wings, each clap lifting him higher. He and Lily exchanged a glance of realization. This was more than a project, they had become symbols of resilience for their community. Weeks slipped by, and the initiative blossomed into more than either of them had anticipated. The school funded their project, sparking a series of workshops and community events focused on sustainability. Jake found himself mentoring younger students, each excited face reflecting the dreams he had almost let go of. It felt full circle. This was not just about him anymore. One day, as they packed up after a workshop, Jake turned to Lily, eyes shining. "Can you believe this? We did it. We changed things for our community." She beamed back at him, her genuine joy infectious. "And we're just getting started." Through tears of joy, Jake felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He realized it didn't matter what anyone else thought. Once he had discovered his hidden genius, not for accolades, but to uplift those around him. He grabbed a crumpled flyer from the table the next community meeting. "Shall we?" he asked with determination, knowing the journey had only just begun. Together, they walked out into the vibrant life of Maplewood. They were ready to keep pushing the boundaries of what was possible, his heart swelling with the truth that sometimes, laughter can ignite a hidden genius, and together, they could indeed change everything. Now, this is the moment for you. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and motivate. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow this wonderful community. Comment below and let us know your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us inspire change.